Most people are familiar, at least in the US, at least with the term feedback, right? But if you can also explain what feedback means for folks around the globe, and maybe they call that something else, and then oral controlled exposure as well.
Yeah. So feedback has traditionally been, the utilization of a tissue homogenate, unique to that specific herd to try to produce immunity for a specific pathogen. Most people think of feedback for rotavirus. So that may be an ongoing feedback program to produce immunity for the piglets. Or to produce a colostral immunity that the piglets will have access to. So that might be an ongoing feedback program. Some people may be familiar with feedback because they've utilized it in a disease elimination eradication program for things, historically it was used for TGE. In both those instances, it's because we don't have access to good vaccines. And so we're utilizing what's there on the farm to produce immunity. Whether it's to a new disease introduction, usually it's something like PD or TGE, maybe PERS when we use LVI serum. Not feedback, but still the same principle is involved. Try to eliminate or eradicate or control a new disease to the farm and produce very farm-specific immunity versus that ongoing feedback that we usually think of for, pre-FARA. It really goes back to things, I was exposed to it for parvovirus. Before parvo vaccines were very common in the industry, that's, people were using tissue feedback to promote immunity to parvo in the sow herds. And then, you can go all the way back for oral controlled exposure to probably the Kohler work on E. coli, where you would grow up E. coli and feed and expose a group of pigs to that to produce an immunity. I think we've gotten a lot more precise about how we apply feedback and oral controlled exposure, tissue homogenate. Whenever you're utilizing a live organism, it's a concern because you never want to harm the animals you're trying to help. And so making sure that it's free of unintended pathogens is important. So we do, when we apply feedback, we do a lot of testing of that material before we just, give it to the whole herd. Those rotavirus homogenates are tested, every batch is done and tested for PERS and PED, all our coronavirus, enteric coronaviruses, circovirus, any bacterial pathogens, because, you don't want to, you always will do no harm.